Hi everyone, I'm Carol Gabel, your host of Women in Business, where every week I get the opportunity to introduce you to a woman in business. But she is not only a woman in business, and she is also not climbing ladders and crashing ceilings, but she is smashing barriers to her own success and inspiring others to do the same. And put a seatbelt on, because today I have Morissa Schwartz, and Morissa is the owner of Dr. Rissi's Writing and Marketing. But there is so much more I want to talk to you about with Morissa, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for the introduction.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, I'm so excited to have you here. I love working with young women in particular. I've mentored a few women in my life, and it's just such an amazing story that you have. So
thank you.
I want to talk a little bit about how we met, you and I.
Yeah.
Right, so we met at the Stone Pony, right?
Yep.
And no, we weren't hanging out together at the bar, but
listening to the rock band.
Right, no. So I was moderating a panel of women entrepreneurs that were also amazing, and it's Women Entrepreneur Rock. So there is no accident that you are here today, because you are a woman entrepreneur that totally rocks.
Thank you.
And you rocked when you were really young. I'm fascinated by this story. So when you were a young girl, I mentioned, I've mentored some young girls, and who would you say is your mentor?
100% my parents. I actually, so I grew up in their mom and pop carpet shop. It's the Carpet Maven, and it's in Woodbridge. I'm sixth generation.
I know it.
Really?
Yes, I live in North Brunswick, so I know. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. So I'm sixth generation of my family to grow up in Woodbridge. So I basically grew up in their store. People still see me now, and they're like, I remember coming into your parents' store and watching you do your homework there, and in your tutu, because I danced. They put me in every kind of class. So seeing them and being in their business and seeing how they do it, that was definitely an influence. And also the fact that they really, supported me with everything I wanted to do. They enrolled me in every type of class you could imagine. And 100%, they're my mentors and a huge reason for everything.
It's just so amazing. And I'm sure they're so proud of you.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
They tell me that a lot.
Yeah. Do you have brothers and sisters?
No, I grew up with, I asked my parents for brothers and sisters. They got me puppies. So it was a fair trade.
Hey, still they're great companions, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I love that you shared with me that you had a bucket list when you were young, really young, and decided to do something about it.
Yeah.
So, and this is the best part. So tell me about the bucket list.
Yeah, so when I was about 12 years old, I decided there were a lot of things that I wanted to accomplish. And I made a pretty long list of things that a 12-year-old would want to do, like things that I don't know an adult would necessarily say, oh, I want to break a Guinness World Record, I want to be on a billboard, I want to sing on a national TV show. But a 12-year-old, those are some things that I thought, I can definitely do that, that's easy. But they weren't very easy. I did do them. They weren't very easy, but
Not at all. So let's start with singing.
Yeah. I started out as a dancer. My parents put me into dancing lessons before I was even 2 years old. So I was a year old, and they put me in my first dancing baby class.
Ballet.
Yeah, I was the youngest in the class, but they put me in that. So I was always a dancer, and then I had an injury, and I was supposed to do a competition. And I had to decide either drop out or do a different talent. And I said, I can sing. I'll do something. So literally about a week before, I went through Grease was my favorite movie, and I made a medley of the Grease songs, and I sang that, and I won. And a lot of people said, you have a good voice. Do you sing anywhere? And I was kind of like, no, not really. And that just people saying positive things to you can make such an impact, especially at that age. And that told me, like, really, that was good. And it made me say, okay, I want to do this more and more. So I kept singing at local events, and I was watching American Idol like every other person.
Sure.
And I said, I really want to do that. So then once I was of age where I could audition for shows like that, I started auditioning, and I got cast on the show on MTV when I was 20. And it was their version of The Voice. It was like a singing competition show. And I was in the top 5 for my group. And that was really fun. That was the dream. So,
What did you sing?
I sang Ellie Goulding's "Burn" and "Anything Can Happen," and I had to pretend to be an Ellie Goulding superfan, even though I hadn't heard of her until the show.
Wow.
Yeah, but that was the song they had the rights to, so I had to sing that.
So they told you what to sing.
I wanted to sing Jennifer Hudson, and they would not let me do that.
Jennifer Hudson, you must have a really great voice because she's very powerful.
Yeah, she is. She definitely is.
And so you are too, so that's really cool. So another time you'll have to come back and sing for us.
There you go.
But there's something else that's really kind of fun about being in the Guinness World Book of Records.
Yeah, so around the same time I wrote the bucket list, I was super into making jewelry, and that's a hobby that I still do today. So when I was 16 and really getting serious about my bucket list, I said, okay, how are we going to break a record? And I looked at a bunch of records and what would be the easiest for me to do. So at first I thought, hey, I'm do sit-ups every day. I'm gonna try to break the record for sit-ups.
Sit-ups.
That didn't work out. that did not work out. So then I saw the world's longest chain of beads. I said, I could probably do that. Somebody broke it while I was doing that. So I said, okay, what am I going to turn this big chain of beads into? A chain of bracelets. And I broke the world's longest chain of bracelets by taking bracelets like these. I made both of these.
They're gorgeous.
Thank you.
I don't know if everybody can see them. If you
Just
can.
kind of chaining them.
They are just beautiful.
Thank you. So yeah, that was fun. And the same week that I broke the record, I released my first book, which was about contests. So the record really promoted the book, saying, hey, I won this contest of the world record, and yeah.
That's enough to make anybody tired, right? But you kept going on. It was also to get your doctorate, right?
Yes.
To be a doctor or...
Yeah, and at the time I thought medical doctor. I went to the Academy for Allied Health and Biomedical Sciences, but then I thought, oh, I'm going to be a medical malpractice attorney. And that didn't make my classmates very happy because they were all going to be doctors and would have been suing them. So I decided, you know what, I really like to read, I really like to write. I've worked on how many books? Let's go for a doctorate in literature. And it just so happened that the school that I got my undergrad at, Drew, has the only doctorate of literature program locally. Like, there are only 2 programs like this, so it was perfect.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. So, as if that isn't enough, you also wrote a book when you were in high school, right?
Yes. That was so that one was self-published. That was the book about contests. And then my first year in college, I got my first traditionally published book published by a publishing company. And then from that, I started my own publishing company because I learned, oh, this is how it works. Okay. Yeah.
Unbelievable. It's just, to be so young and to be able to do that. So you were writing in high school. Mm-hmm. So did any of your teachers say to you, like, Morissa, you're a great writer. What do you want to be when you grow up, right?
Well, it's funny because my high school was geared all towards science. So we didn't have extracurriculars. We didn't have anything like that. Everything was science classes. So with the exception of one teacher who, to this day, I still see, and Mr. Genocide, with the exception of him, everybody else was so science focused that there wasn't very much interest in my writing. It was kind of like, oh, okay, cool, you write? Okay, nice. Well, when are you going to go back to that experiment? So,
right,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's just amazing. So you did. You decided I'm going to pursue a passion, right, for writing.
Yeah.
And that's what created...
Well, I would hurry up really fast to finish my science work so I could work on my books. That's what I would do.
So it was early on you kind of had it in you, and you were doing it, but you
when
had...
you're in that culture of everybody's into science and everybody's going to be a medical doctor, I'm like, okay, well, I have to focus on that. That's obviously the more important thing. But.
So your friends, growing up and whatnot, were they in awe of you? Like, wow, Morissa, I can't believe, you did this or that.
Yeah, a little bit. I was called an overachiever as well by a lot of them. But I have a very goofy side, and that's like the 2 days after I got my doctorate, I went to my parents. They opened a second location. It was Halloween, and I was there dressed as a clown with all the stuff on it. So I think that a lot of people, we kind of forget because I'm just kind of goofy.
Yeah. You have to have a goofy side too.
Yeah.
I think, when you get wound too tight and you're into all the science and focused.
Yeah.
You need to do something to shake your sillies out, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I was going to ask you what you like to do for fun, because it seems like this is all pretty fun, what you're doing.
It is.
But I'm sure you have things that you like to do for fun.
Yeah, I take a lot of odd classes. Just in the past few months, I took an animal communication course, rock climbing, pumpkin knitting, just weird stuff.
Pumpkin knitting? Tell me.
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
It's with the big yarn, and you literally knit around a pumpkin. And my friend said, "Hey, you like to knit, right? Let's go to this class." I said, "Okay, sure, let's do it." And yeah.
So you knit too?
I knit too. Yeah, not very well, but I knit too.
I think the question is, what don't you do, right? But I'm very similar. I love to do different things, and unless somebody tells me I really can't for some reason,
right?
And even then, right? Yeah, and I think there's just a DNA in there that people like us do.
Yeah, the doer DNA.
Yeah, the doer DNA. Yeah. So tell me more about Dr. Rissi's writing and marketing.
Yeah, so that is my company. I'm Dr. Rissi. I started freelancing when I was in high school. So my friends were getting jobs at the mall. They were miserable. They didn't like working in the mall. I said, I don't want to get a job in the mall, but I need something. I have a car. I'm going to be going to college. I'm going to need income. What can I do? And I was working for an attorney, but I got a few hours a week with her. It wasn't like a regular job. I needed something
What were you
else.
doing for the attorney?
So I would go to court with her, take notes. I acted as a witness one time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was a great experience. So I did kind of freelance work. I would write reports, things like that. So for I started freelancing. I said, okay, rather than a 9 to 5 or any kind of after school job, I'm going to freelance. And I started out on this freelance website, actually proofreading people's children's books. And that was fun. And then I was getting referral after referral for different types of work, and a lot of them said, I really like your writing. I wish that were optimized. I want it to be seen by the search engines. So I learned SEO. And then I got requests, can you do social media? I like your writing. Can you write my social media? So I learned social media. I got my master's in communication, took courses on social media. But then it got to be the point where I'm like, okay, I'm only one person. I do need some sleep, which I was not getting. I probably should hire somebody. So I hired my first assistant. And
how old?
This was more recent. So I hired my first person probably about 4 years ago. So I hired an assistant. And then I realized, why am I hiring people who do exactly what I do? Maybe I could hire people that do things I don't do. So I hired a graphic designer because I don't do graphics. So then I just kept hiring people. Now I'm at 28 people on my team. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're great. I love each and every one of them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So I have to stop you right here. I mean, we have to take a break, but I don't want to stop you. It's amazing. And when we come back, we'll learn more about, both of your businesses that you have right now. So awesome. Don't go away. It's getting better now.
Incorporating images and video clips is another great way to showcase your product during your live segment. Let viewers see how good you really are. And most importantly, there's you and your interview. For less than the cost of a newspaper, direct mail, or a magazine ad, you can leave our studio and within 48 hours have a permanent digital copy of your live segment to link to your social media, embed into your company website, or use in email marketing. Investing in your brand is so very important, and we can't wait to have you as a guest.
Shelter dogs aren't broken. They've simply experienced more life. If they were human, we would call them wise. They would be the ones with tales to tell and stories to write. The ones dealt a bad hand who responded with courage. Do not pity a shelter dog. Adopt one.
Say we've got grit, and we'll take it as a compliment. Because it's our uncommon drive, our spark within, that brings us together and sets us apart. We are temple made. And when others take shortcuts, when others take breaks, when others take the easy way, we take charge.
Add us on social media to watch bloopers, behind-the-scenes footage, previews, and more.
I work 13 hours a day, 6 days a week. So when I'm off the clock, I gotta get stuff done. So when I need a snack, I need something healthy, tasty, and easy to eat. Like wonderful pistachios.
Welcome back, everyone, to Women in Business with my special guest, Morissa Schwartz. And let me tell you, she is blowing my mind. You know, to have somebody this young, beautiful, talented, and I just can't believe all you've accomplished.
Thank you.
I just don't know, you know, in the future, you know, what you could possibly do to outdo your youth and whatnot. So we talked about high school, we talked about the 20s, you know, you being in the 20s, and where you are now, you know, with your business. So
Yeah.
we briefly talked about Dr. Reese's writing and marketing, right? So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so at this point now, I have a team of 28 people, super smart people, mostly from around here, New York, Pennsylvania, you know, and it's great because we serve a nice variety of clients. We do 360 marketing, so SEO work, social media, organic and ads, PR, writing. You know, I started out as a writer, so everything kind of is concentrated in writing, but it's also getting people out digitally. So we've worked with large clients, we've worked with small clients, we've helped small clients become large. It's really great what we do. So they're creatives, it's getting them more business. It's really fun. I get to work with such a wide variety of clients every day.
So and is there a home base, or is everybody?
Yeah, I have a home office. I did kind of what my accountant does, where I live in one section of the house and then the other section is the office. And I have team members come over from time to time, but you know, 99.9% of the time we're remote, and we have such great systems set up that we talk video chat, we constantly text, we Slack, we Trello. So we're always talking and connected. And a lot of the time when people hear what I do, they say, "Oh, you're an agency." And I say, "No, we're a team." When I hear the word agency, I think you're outsourcing to another country, to somebody, you know, who doesn't have the specialty and the knowledge and experience that somebody local would have. And that's not the case with us. We're a team where we're local and we communicate daily and effectively, and one person checks over another person's work. It's truly collaborative.
I love it. So you're cross-pollinating all the time too.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure there's like 2 or 3 of you that work together on a project, or it could be the whole team.
Exactly.
Or maybe just you by yourself, you know?
Yeah, like for example, today I just saw, you know, Ashley made this wonderful content calendar, and then she said, "Hey Maria, can you make graphics for this?" Maria makes the graphics. She goes, "I love that. Can we get a pink one too?" Like that's the kind of thing we're seeing.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really efficient. Mm-hmm. It's cost effective. You make the most of your time. You could, you know, do other things while you're doing that, and I think it's just great. So you have a book with you here today.
I do. Yes, this book is Be a Digital Entrepreneur Today, and it's a lot about kind of what we were talking about, where I talk about my first, you know, thinking, oh gosh, I'm gonna need a 9 to 5, oh gosh, I'm gonna need to work in the mall. I really don't wanna do those things, but that's what happens. And I talk about in here getting over that mentality and saying, no, you can work online. There are so many different things that you can do online, from freelance work to starting your own company. You know, it's not just, you don't just have to be a marketer or a writer, you could be a photographer, a singer, anything, and have an online business. And that's what this book discusses.
Well, you know, side gigs.
Yes.
Side hustles.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You were ahead of your time, you know, because now that's such a buzzword,
Yeah.
right? A side hustle, side gig, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't know the first thing about doing it.
Right.
So there's a big difference between having a very good idea and making a business out of it, right?
So true.
Yeah. So give the audience a couple pieces of advice. You know, if they're like you and they're sitting and they have their bucket list.
Yeah.
How do they go from their bucket list to reality?
I think that the main thing that stands in people's way is them thinking that they can't do something. I had on my side being naive, being a naive 12-year-old thinking, oh yeah, breaking a record, everybody does that, that's easy. And I think if I would have done the bucket list when I was older, I probably wouldn't have accomplished as many things because I would have been more realistic and thought, yeah, no, that's not gonna work. You can't just publish a book, you can't just sing on TV. So I think that keeping that positive attitude, even at an age where you're not 12, even as an adult, and saying, yes, if I put my mind to this, I can do this, and also making the time to do it. That's one thing that I hear from people all the time. Well, I really want to do this, but I just don't have the time. If you look at your schedule and carefully realize, oh, if I play with this time, maybe I can go to the gym at this time instead and do this goal instead. You can make the time and figure out a way to do it. But there's, cliches are usually cliche for a reason. Where there's a will, there's a way. That's a cliche.
Right.
I believe that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am guilty. I've been writing a book for 10 years, and every day if I wrote one page, I would have been done. I could have been on my second book, right? Yeah. But, you're right. We make up excuses and put it at the bottom of the list instead of,
Absolutely.
Yeah, but then you have another business as well.
Yeah, so that has to do with the books. I have Gen Z Publishing, and that's a company that I started in college where I wanted to publish, but after I had my own book published, I wanted to publish books originally by young people because working at the publishing company getting published by the publishing company that I was at, I realized I was their youngest by decades, and that most books that I read were by people who were a lot older, and I looked further into it and realized people under a certain age weren't getting published. That's just not how it would work. So I started a company to help young people get published and called it Gen Z Publishing. And then after a few months of having our books out, we had an Amazon bestseller. One of our very first books was an Amazon bestseller. I started getting queries, and I got a query from a man who was about 45, and his writing was really, really good. And I said, I can't turn this guy down because he's older. That's really ageist. He's very talented. So I changed kind of the whole company and said, okay, now we publish everybody, but we're keeping the name Gen Z to mean innovative. So our books all kind of have some kind of innovative thing. If we publish a book about vampires, it's not going to be the classic Twilight story. There's going to be a twist. So that's Gen Z Publishing. We've published close to 100 books over the past few years, and I've had about 10 Amazon bestsellers. So I
can't count how many times I've said wow. But wow, And so the 10, that are bestsellers, right? Well, what was the secret sauce to that?
There are a few, and one of them is marketing. Because I own a marketing company, that definitely helps us to figure out ways to rank the book higher, to use the right keywords so that the right people find it. We had a poetry book, and rather than just classifying as a poetry book, we classified it as American poetry. The author was American, and we realized that there's a stronger demand for that rather than just poetry where you get buried by hundreds and thousands of books. So marketing it intelligently, doing things like that definitely helps. And then the other part, the more important part, is publishing really, really talented authors. We only publish 10% of the books queried to us. We have to be kind of picky, and because the quality is so good, the books do better.
And what are some of the genres of the book?
Yeah, so I mentioned poetry. A lot of companies shy away from poetry because it is a hard sell, but we publish poetry. We do a lot of young adult. We actually now have a subsidiary called Zenith Publishing for our young adult books. We've published a little bit of everything. That's part of the, our model of just kind of being all-inclusive. We've done fiction, nonfiction, memoirs, a little bit of everything.
So someone like me, I want to get a book published, and maybe it isn't through you, maybe it's through somebody else. Like, what advice would you give?
I would say that there are a lot of options. So you have 3 different types of publishing: self-publishing, independent publishing, and then the big 5 publishers in New York. Typically, doing your homework and figuring out which option is best for you. That's key. And also, you don't have to have the entire book finished when you pitch it to a publishing company. When you're self-publishing, obviously, all needs to be done. But if you're going to a publishing company, just having a few chapters, a summary, and a query letter is enough to see how interested they would be.
What are some of, if you had a wish list and you had a lineup of authors and you wanted to publish them, what would that look like?
The authors would definitely, first off, there would be few grammatical errors and just, we would need to see that, okay, the time was taken to make sure that the book is polished and nice, because when you see a book and there are typos on the first page, you kind of say, well, if they didn't take the time to check over their grammar, how is the rest of the book? So definitely the little things and making sure that it looks nice. But also avoiding cliches. You know, a lot of people, they write like the same type of story that we've seen over and over. Like when Twilight was popular, all we were seeing was vampire books that were very similar to that. Doing something a little bit different. It doesn't need to be completely off the wall, but just something different, that's definitely helpful. And third, and probably most important, is staying true to your voice. I have had authors kind of try to write like somebody else and they don't have a clear audience in mind, or they're writing for the wrong audience. Just kind of staying true to yourself and writing it as if you're the reader, I think really helps.
I have to tell you, I've interviewed so many people, but you are just brilliant, really brilliant and startlingly awesome.
Thank you.
And I wish I had more time with you. I really do.
Me
It's
too.
just
This is
amazing.
really fun.
You have to come back.
Absolutely.
And I mean that in many ways.
Thank you.
So now's time for you to tell the audience where to find your awesome self.
Absolutely. Well, you can find me on basically every social media platform with my name, which is right there, Morissa Schwartz, but it's Morissa with an O. You can reach me at my email, which is mo, at Dr. Rissy. Again, you can see Dr. Rissy right there.
Yeah.
drrissy.com. You can call my office at 732-306-5995. And then there are also my websites, drrissyswriting.com. But pretty much if you Google my name, you'll find it all.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
For, brightening my day. I'm just like, wow, I want to go do something new and exciting.
Yeah, right?
You've inspired me. Yeah, I was actually taking a course where I did that every morning. I would wake up at 5, and part of it was you had to do something for 20 minutes that you've never done.
Oh, that's awesome.
But look at you, you've been doing it all your life,
It's cool, though.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. Really, it was a pleasure.
Come back, okay?
Absolutely.
I hope that inspired all of you to do something different and exciting with your lives, and come back again next week, and I'll look forward to seeing you, and have a wonderful weekend. Take care, everybody.